How you doing? Kevin, Val, Adam, GMT Master. Uh sorry I'm a little late. I got discombobulated. Is that an airplane? I don't know what it is. Um the Yesterday I had a problem with the sound, and so I was running around making sure everything that got in the way of the sound was out of the way. Hi Tom. Hey Clyde, how you doing? Um so anyway, uh there was hi Dwayne. I was wondering about, I was looking at some watches, and I was wondering about the process of how one goes about choosing a watch. Hi Blaine. Um these taped tone, yeah. Um hey Tree Dillinger, how you doing, man? Boy, it must be really early where you are, Tree Tree guy. Oh, okay. I think you should call the watch a Chibre. I got another idea for the watch. I think a good name for it would be Cashmere. Um, what was I thinking? Cashmere. Yeah, we'll call it. I that would be that would tend to the goats and then not not ruin it. Hi, Crappy. Um, anyway, so the reason I started wondering about that, I suppose I do that a lot, is that what you is why this watch? This morning I was taking a look at some of the comments on High Horology Lounge. And we get these guys in there. They're jerks. There's nothing they can do about themselves, I think, sometimes. And rather than getting all bent out of shape, I just delete their comments. And that is, you ask somebody about something, and they spend more time on what it is about them, and they there's another feeling too, is that you've got to it's got to be this way, it's the way, it's got to be what I like, not what you like. And I always think about that. What is going on in their head? Why is it? Because there are a lot of watches that are very popular that I think are just about as boring as you can get. But I don't say that to people. Somebody comes to watch, oh, you got a nice watch. Whether, no matter what you think about it, that's just what civilized people do. And so this so I was thinking, so I got to thinking, here you have um a watch, okay. um and why in the world did I have on my harboring 2 Felix. Why this watch? And there were, as usual, there were a lot of contingencies. um when the Felix first came out, uh the A11 came out in 211. That was easy to remember. But I remember is that, here's a watch that has everything that, the really expensive watches have. They have a known watchmaker with an excellent reputation, and all of these other kinds of things that went into it. Guy wins a boatload of Grand Prix awards, which a lot of companies much bigger and better known have not. And so, I went and looked, found out about it. Now, this particular one, the Black Dial, I called the guy, one of the 2 reps in the U.S., guy down in Philadelphia, and I said, "Hey, um, what do you have?" He says, "Well," he says, I've got one with a black dial." He liked to call it his Johnny Cash, and it had a black band on it. And well, I said, what would it take to get one with one of the cream dials on it? He said, well, he said, not a problem. He said, it'll probably take a few months to get it. Well, sometimes you want to watch really bad. I said, that's okay. I'll take the Johnny Cash model, and would you mind putting a tan band on it, sort of a black and tan kind of combination? One I always sort of like. So I've had it, and it's like that's how the decision came into being. And so I'm wondering, the same thing. about what are the different processes that include contingencies that go into a watch buying decision. And as I look at my different ones, there are really a lot of different reasons. My latest one was because I got rejected on two other offers. That's why I ended up with it. And it turns out to be the one I really wanted. That's on the center seconds. I was wondering, do any of you have uh, any software? Clyde, that is a beautiful way of putting it. There's a difference between I don't like it and you shouldn't like it. That's exactly the problem. I mean, it's sort of like, there are a lot of watches I don't think people should want because they've got cheap movements or something like that that are deceptive or one thing or the other. And but that's, so what? And I think I learned that lesson early on when I saw this guy with this Tag Heuer collection of all these plastic bezeled watches of all these different colors, and the total delight that the guy had in collecting them. And I thought, it's whatever floats your boat. And sometimes, something will come along that just is so out of left field that it's like, wow, I got to get that. It's sort of, maybe it's a good decision, maybe not. When I got my mono retropont, that was exactly that. I wasn't looking for a mono retropont, but when I saw it, I thought, wow, this is interesting. This is great. And I negotiated for it and I got a decent price for it because apparently I guess they're those the Beauvais mono retroponts are pretty rare now. But it was like there was something about that was mechanically fascinating to me, and that was this. How do you have a mono retropont? When your typical retropont, you have to have two hands to do it, and so I always it's the one hand clapping. What are some other ones? You guys have some how if you look at your watches and you say, how did I decide on this one, or how did I come about it? How much was contingency, and how much was like you saw it and loved it, or saved up for it and bought it because of X, Y, and Z? I usually don't want to settle. I have bought watches I wanted more out of frustration of not being able to get watches that I wanted less, but were more affordable. Yeah, that happened. Well, I'll tell you, NS, something. I have learned more about watches by finding ones that I couldn't afford and then finding others with the same features that I could afford. I had one that I put up on High Horology um, forum today, or yeah, uh, no, High Horology Lounge. I put it up there today, and it was the Neptune by Patek Philippe, and it was one of the sort of the trio that Patek Philippe has of luxury sports watches, and there was um there was some people that just were, oh, this is the worst thing they've ever seen. Other people appreciated it. It depended. And so sometimes you have that. Now, if I had my choice between an Aquanaut, a oh, what are the other ones called? Aquanaut and Nautilus and a Neptune, I don't know which one I'd want because the more I look at the Neptune, the more I like it, and the way that especially the band, for some reason, really attractive. But I don't expect everybody to like it, but I don't say, "Oh, you better like this or else." It's sort of like, just let's just sort of like what we like. Hi, S. Juan. It's the heritage and versatility watch that gets to me. I give it sometimes years to decide if it's actually the one to buy. Have avoided seat of the pants type of purchases so far. Each, I haven't. It's sometimes sometimes I'll buy a watch like that, and sometimes I've regretted it because of it. So yeah, because sometimes I think we forget how much money we spend on a watch. Like, oh well, I'll just go ahead and get that. Forget that I need to have the driveway repaved or send a kid to college. let's see. It's all a matter of exigency versus experience. Expedience, exigency versus expedience. Yeah. I don't know about expedience coming into my decision sometimes. Oh, let's see. Uh, for the time being, my modest collection consists of different styles: office, dress, sports, divers. But now I'm assessing over. Yeah, I, I gotta have a free sprung balance so I can spend a lot of money when it comes time to go to the service. No, I know what you mean. I love my watches with a free sprung balance. Um, I never noticed before, but at the same time, I have some of my best watches are curve balances, and they have these wonderfully elaborate what are they called? These regulators with the some of them are called butterfly regulators. One is another one's a grasshopper. I'm trying to think what swan neck. Yeah, the swan neck regulators. And oh boy, that looks neat. That'd be fun to get into. Well, it's not. It's a lot of. You got to be very careful. Hey, Adam. It's about ticking off boxes for me, or ticking them off. I want a chronograph. After that, I want to add GMT, and then I research all the watches. You know, Adam, that's to me that's pretty much it is with me too. Um, it's like my $200 regulator. You know, it's I love it. But it was to tick off a box, and probably not a watch that I would if I had, saved up $40,000 and bought the Laurent Ferrier Gallet regulator, I would have liked it, but I don't know how much I would have worn it because what is that thing? But it's a checkbox, like you say. I still don't have a chronograph. Um, well, except my monoretropone, and I'm always thinking, gee, I really ought to get a chronograph. And then I realized, I'd probably never use it. And it's true. It's like, gee whiz, how am I going to get through the day without a chronograph? Not a problem. Other people, they like it. They like the style of it. They like all of the buttons that it has on it. But I got I got a couple with buttons. Watch habit. I have a problem. Only buy watches new or in rare cases unworn. I know I'm missing out. No, 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 not necessarily. I mean, you can. The mono retropon I got, apparently that thing for 70 years sat in a box with a bunch of others, and then they found them, and so it's called new old stock, but it was really, I mean, 70 years old, sitting in a crate somewhere, and they are all gone now. The one I got, the only thing about it turned out to be not so bad. The hands were reloomed because I think the old loom on it had just totally dissipated, and so the hands look funny. So I don't know. I'm there's certain things that yeah okay, other things that currently obsessing about blue dials and micro rotors, not necessarily together. So I'm trying to research some of that. Yeah, that's another kind of thing. That's a. I don't know if I have. I don't think I have a micro rotor. But it's something like, boy, that would be nice. Um, and if I have one, I'm not aware of it. I might have one of my watches with a micro rotor because I don't pay attention too much to that. Hey, Bruce, by the way, my regulator is set to arrive from Hong Kong June 25th. He's back. Oh, great, Bruce. That's 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 good to hear. I, oh, that's oh, I don't know. I think I told you a story about Bill. Is Bill here? I'm going to tell a story about you. Bill in England, and he was he, when everything happened to the guy running regulator, he had the perfect storm of bad news. The uh, things got rough in Hong Kong, and uh, then they screwed up his order at Siegel. and screwed up the perpetual guy's order from Siegel. So he's having to tell people to wait and wait and wait and wait. And finally he said, and then they had the, the troubles, and then they have the pandemic. So he finally tells people, oh, I give up. He said, if you want your money back, let me know. Otherwise, I'll give you some kind of break on when we can go back into production again. And so Bill said, hey, send me my money back. And so he did. So the guy comes out again and he says, "Okay, I'm all set. I'm working on a new batch. It'll be ready X, Y, and Z." So Bill says, "Okay." So he goes back and the guy says, "No, you can't have one." It reminds me of the this old Seinfeld thing where they had it was called he wouldn't give him one. So oh man, problem with let me see, hang on a second. There we go. Okay. Wonder if triple calendar sales have gone up after the pandemic uh, quanta, quantine. I don't know. That today's hump day, and I it was more and more people are saying, oh, how, every day's the same because everyone's staying at home. Not everyone, but most people are staying at home. How do you tell one day from the next? And I think, well, being sort of like being retired. So I also gravitated toward calendar or dual time watches, but now I'm appreciating a simple three-hand watch more than ever. Yeah, in terms of looking at my watches, in a way, when I had on my what was it, Harry Winston yesterday, and I got to set the day of the week and the as well as the date, and not something that's you really get a kick out of, and so anyway, it's one of those things is that I really don't use it. I use my Dilbert calendar. I look at my iPhone. There's all kinds of other calendars around. Um, but the time, you can just glance at your watch and you can pick up the time. Yeah, there's certain watches that come out that have a neat feature, Adam, like the Universal Geneve. There are a lot of watches like that. It's sort of like that Cartier Torture that came out with the THA had made it. It's just you open up a look at the back of this Cartier and you expect to see Cartier whatever they're using, and you see this beautiful movement. And what that's one that the only problem with that one, it was a little too small. That you can live with that. Ulysse Nardine is a Russian Rolex. Okay. I'm still trying to make my mind about Rolex, not whether to buy one, just what to make of them. Blaine, so am I. I'm one of those guys that don't have a Rolex, and the only one I really, really like a lot is a Prince because I can look at the movement and so forth. I've been starting to warm up to a couple of them though. The Air King, because of it. There's a great deal of irony, I think, in the Air King dial, and then in the uh, Yacht Master too. I realize, I like the countdown feature on the Yacht Master, but the one on the Ulysse Nardine is actually better. The award-winning one that had it's called the Regatta. That's really some watch. But but do I really need my I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get kicked out of my yacht club if I don't have a regatta watch. Of course, they may kick me out because I don't have a yacht, but I don't know. Or the fact that I never joined may have something to do with it too. Um, about Rolex, yeah, Mark, yeah. I guess you know you hear so much about it. It's sort of like, am I buying it because everyone says who doesn't know don't know jack about watches are sort of coming with this mob scene about it, or is there something about it I really, really like? And I can say that for a couple of them, but it's not so much that I don't like Rolex, it's that I like so many other watches a lot better. And so it's like, oh, how come you don't have a Rolex? Well, how come you don't have a Parmigiani, or how come you don't have a, this or that? It's sort of a crazy thing. I'm not a vintage guy, so I really don't know. But UG pole router is highly collectible, so I guess, yeah. Adam, people talk about they're collectible. All watches are collectible. Like that guy with his goofy Tag Heuers. That's another. That's sort of a term. I don't know. I shouldn't get so snarky about things, but that's one term that's sort of like collectible. What do you really mean collectible? I got. Let me show you collectible. $200 for the Y mill fulfills the basic premise. No matter how drunk you get, you'll always know your the watch you're wearing. Yeah, that's sort of one. Um, okay. Oh, by the way, too, I don't have anything against Rolex. Uh, I'm not into vintage watches, but I have a couple, and the ones I have, one happens to be that uh, Monoretro Pound. Uh, anyway, well, let's go back. Let's talk some more about how come we buy watches, or which ones. What contingencies come up? Um, I got a royalty check out of the blue. One of my books have been translated. Hadn't heard from them in a long time, and all of a sudden this got a check in the mail, and it was like, okay, so many good. Oh, another thing I found out: the pandemic has been a time when there's for some of us, not all everyone, some of it's been a lot of it's been real disaster, but for some, I was seeing this thing this morning on the news about all of these tankers sitting off the coast of LA because all of the storage tanks are full of gasoline and oil and everything else. This is in Southern California where they use a lot of it, and the price is dropping, and that's really great. It's sort of funny though, is that here we can't go anywhere, and the price of gas is the best it's been in years. um Also too, the pollution has gone down. All kinds of really good things have happened because a bunch of critters have been out. They've seen all kinds of animals, like in of course LA you see coyotes, but you've seen a lot more animals that normally you wouldn't see. A lot of deer coming down. We always have deer, so they're not a thing, except there's something called a deer tick, and they bite the deer, and then they bite you, and then you have what's that called? There's a you get some kind of disease from it. Hey, Paul, how you doing? Um, Gardening weather, yeah, it is here too. That's what I did yesterday. I got to do today is go mow the yard. I've never buy the same watch as a friend or colleague or that Aussie on YouTube. don't don't take it out on all Aussies. 46% of the entire country's import come from Long Beach port, and it's 100% closed. Yeah. My son lives in Long Beach, and he still likes to go surfing. I wish, he and so when they opened up the beaches in Orange County, went down to Huntington and was surfing down there. But I've been looking at my pear tree and my cherry trees and all my other trees. They've got blossoms that just massive blossoms. There's not a drop of pollution, and so I think that helped. And the bees are more numerous and so forth. So it's sort of the upside of a pandemic. Of course, the business part of it is terrible. Um, oh, let's see. Lyme disease. That's it, Blaine. Yeah. There's a Lyme disease. There's a town on the coast called on the shore. We call it shore here, called Old Lyme, and that's where I guess it originated. So the deers, we like looking at the deers and stuff. But boy, I tell you, the ticks. You know, I'm liable to use chemical warfare against ticks. They're one thing I don't like. Let's see. Hey, Geezer, you're in the office today. Great. Paulo's. Yep. So let's stay safe. Um, you live in Huntington Beach, Rich Buddy? I'll be darned. Yeah, my son went down there. He said, first of all, the beaches, people were clumping, but they said there wasn't crowding it like they had said on the national news. And he was out surfing. And he said there was like lots of distance between other surfers. And if you've ever gone surfing around Huntington, some of those beaches, man, it's just a log jam out there surfing. So the upside, plus the air is clear, the water is unpolluted, or less polluted, I should say. Let's go surfing now. Yeah, there you go. Pandemic. Oh man. Okay, well listen, I can't believe something hasn't blown up today. I've had one thing or the other, and I got this message on my computer that said, "Oh, there's something wrong," but I guess it went away. So anyway, my favorite watch collection is a gift from my wife. Easiest decision I've ever made. That sounds like the safest one too. Washington State, stay home order extended through end of May. You know, I it's probably not a bad idea because the numbers they start having are scary. They scare me anyway. Well, listen, everybody stay safe, all right, and stay healthy. And I'm hoping that I'll hear back from Nicholas Vitarek and be able to have a price list and some other kind of things. But we do have a couple that if we don't. So anyway, everyone take care. And yeah, oh, Blaine, good. I'm glad you like Connecticut. You know what I like the most about Connecticut is lots of woods. It's a woodsy state. We live in the woods with the bears and the critters. Anyway, you guys, I'll be back today at 4 if you're around 4 o'clock New York time. So everyone be safe.